It's not over.
Stop the fight!
People.
Everybody, I come here for everybody. Kill everybody. I'm the champ. I'm the king. Kill everybody. Ah!
All right, guys, welcome back to Broke Bets. Lane here with you. Also got my co-host with me, Carson, as always. Woo! Woo! As always, guys, check out that Patreon. Get the line movement beat. I think I calculated like a full unit of line movement beat over the course of the bets for UFC Mexico. So check that shit out, and let's get right into it. So we got Christian Leroy Duncan versus Claudio Ribeiro. Going with Christian Leroy Duncan. He's got some big flaws in his game, I still think. But if you're just talking overall movement, and I think the ability to find a KO shot and his loose style, he's going to find it. Ribeiro is kind of a stiffer power puncher, and he's just going to leave himself open. And I think Leroy Duncan finds that. What do you think here?
I feel like Leroy Duncan will find a KO at some point in this fight. He's just a really fluid striker. Works the kicks really well. I really liked his teep kick right up the middle. I feel like in this fight he'll be able to hurt Ribeiro's body, and then could go up top with some kicks like Kaipolov did. He's got really, when he uses his jab, it's really good. But in the Armen Petrosian fight, he didn't really use it that much, and then he went to it in the Tuliulian fight, and he just kept touching and moving him. Did a really nice job with the jab in that fight. He's got some good elbows as well, and some flying knees, so a little unorthodox when he goes to some of that flying knee stuff, but he's a really fluid striker.
Yeah, I like a bet here on Leroy Duncan, whether it's in a parlay or whatever you're going to use it for. I just feel like, like you're saying, like loose style. The problem with that Petrosian fight is he had like a 6 or 7 inch reach advantage, and he was doing like spinning heel kicks and just awkward movements to waste all of his energy. In this case, Ribeiro is probably the guy who's going to waste more of his energy. Obviously, Ribeiro still has like that knockout power. He could still catch him, but you have to think his chin's also a little bit affected by 2 of his losses now in the UFC, and also beating Joseph Holmes means like almost nothing. So,
Jamie Pickett beat him, I believe. So.
But then, to be fair as well, beating Dennis Tuliulian doesn't mean a ton either. But there's still...
most people have been beating Tuliulian, getting him to the ground, and
True.
Duncan just pieced him up on the feet. So.
And you have to give credit, like, he still looked good in his fights. There's a lot of moments where Ribeiro didn't look too sharp. He had like one punch on Kopylov that looked okay. I just don't think he's going to pull it off, though, so... Yeah,
I feel like second round probably KO for Leroy Duncan. Ribeiro tends to gas, and he's got 11 wins, and 8 of those are first round KOs. So when he's been KO'd twice, and both of those were in round 2. So
all right,
see that happening again.
I just switched it to round 2. That makes a lot of sense there. So yep, Leroy Duncan KO round 2. Okay, for the next fight, we have Loik Radhabov versus Abdul Karim Al-Selwandy. Going with Abdul Karim Al-Selwandy by decision here. Just great balance in his game. He showed good grappling in some of his previous fights. I believe it was the Michael Murphy fight. You know, I don't love his game, but I don't like Radhabov's game. He's just a little bit overly muscular, and, you know, he doesn't wrestle as well with technique as he does, more with just all of his strength, and that can cause him to slow down. Just in the striking department, has 2 punches, just like a cross left, cross right. They're not too direct. They're not too, sharp. He does have just some natural power just from being a big dude, but for the most part, Selwandy's going to be touch and move this entire fight, and I think that Radhabov just going to fall behind and not win a judge's scorecard here.
Yeah, Al-Selwandy seemed like he had cardio for days. He was really moving around the octagon. He has really good footwork and really good feints as well. So he's constantly feinting, and he's tough to deal with. He throws pretty good volume as well and can wrestle. So, yeah, I think he's a tough matchup here, and I like him to win on the judges' scorecards.
Yeah, I'd say the knock on him would be that Radhabov, clearly by watching that Ribeiro fight, is that he really struggles when he's on the back foot, and I don't think Abdul will put him on the back foot because he's more of just a touch and move kind of point fighting style. And I'd say a little bit of a knock on him is he doesn't really throw KO power shots. He's just trying to touch you. But, for this matchup, I think either work in this scenario, but I do think the marching down effect has, it'll break Radhabov's will. His chin seems pretty good. It's just when he got overpressured by Ribeiro, he just wanted out of there, and that was pretty evident. So, hands stay up real well for Al-Selwandy. He uses great footwork, great bounce. It's kind of just, I feel like if Radhabov catches him type of fight, and I got to go with Selwandy. So, any more thoughts?
Nope.
All right, Selwandy by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Javid Basharat versus Aiemann Zahabi, brother of Firas Zahabi. Going with Basharat, as everyone should in this scenario. I don't like Zahabi. I just don't like these guys that do have this style where he won't engage unless being engaged. He's just going to counterpunch. He's like John McDessie in my mind. Both these fucking Canadians. They just sit there and they wait until their opponent comes into range and they try to counterpunch. And Basharat, he'll use the length weapons well, like a jab, a teep kick. He has a great teep kick. He uses the low leg kicks, and he's the better grappler. It's kind of Zahabi again. Just needs to catch him. That's his way of winning. I don't think he does. So give me Basharat by decision.
I think Basharat will just be better everywhere. Better striker, better grappler. Basharat in his last one, he was winning that Victor Henry fight pretty handily in that first round, and then Henry decided to fake an injury there. So he knew he was losing and wanted to get out of there early. I feel like Basharat has pretty good cardio as well too to go that full 15 minutes. His last 3 wins were all by decision, so I probably see that happening here as well.
Yeah, I don't see that crazy power. Again, Zahabi probably doesn't take any risks himself, and he'll just let himself get touched the whole fight. He'll throw a couple haymakers. I think he misses, and even if he does hit one, I think Basharat's chin looks pretty good. So, also age gap. Pay attention to that here. I wouldn't bet this fight though. Basharat's
minus 5. Yeah, minus 500 that's very steep.
Basharat by decision will be interesting, but that's also probably favored, so I don't know. All right, Basharat by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Vinicius Oliveira versus Yanis Ghemmouri. Weird fight, interesting fight. Going with Oliveira, he's a wild card, and he kind of gives off the kill or be killed vibe here. Ghemmouri, technical fighter, really didn't even take a fucking chance versus Gomes. That fight fucking sucks. I mean, the way it stopped, the entire fight was just bad. Oliveira, though, I'm not sold on this guy. I think a lot of people will end up betting this dude. He keeps his hands low. He's got big power, as we've seen, but he is prone to being hit at times. And even on his contender, I thought he was close to being head kick knocked out. He got out of the way of a kick, and it breezed right over his forehead. I mean, it would have looked like Volk versus Islam if he would have gotten caught. So,
no, it kind of felt like Edwards and Usman, because he was kind of like ducking into it, but he just like ducked right under it, like he was facing that way.
And it wasn't purposeful. It was like, shit, that just barely missed. And
then he like gave the wide eye reaction, like, oh dang, like.
And he's big for this weight class, and I think that's also why he plays into these knockouts well. He looked a lot bigger than his opponent. We'll take him by a second round knockout. I think Ghemmouri will just play it safe until he does get caught, but Oliveira, again, hands down, he'll go into a 50-50, and Ghemmouri, he could catch him. And, not a horrible grappler on the Ghemmouri side. He struggled to get Gomes down, but that's pretty common for a lot of these guys. So, yeah, Oliveira for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Oliveira will win this, but I'm not too confident. He is kill or be killed. He's only been to decision twice, and 3 of his losses are all by KO. So I feel like if he does lose, it will be by that method again. So he seemed to have pretty good leg kicks. He was throwing strikes from all different angles. I mean, his hands were kind of low coming up, so don't really love that. It left his chin up there a few times to be hit, and yeah, I mean, I feel like if Ghemmouri could catch him, but I feel like Oliveira will win this.
I think if you're just like thinking about this fight, you're on the edge, or you're extremely confident in Oliveira, go look at that Ali Taleb fight, and like Oliveira has like 2 knockdowns in that fight. He looked really good, but he also got dropped in round 1, and the knockout in round 3 is so incredibly brutal that like just overhand flush on the chin and a couple follow-ups, and he's just out real bad. So just know what you're dealing with a little bit here is what I'd say. Also, Ghemmouri fighting at 135 for this one, so something to think about there as well. Other than that, Oliveira KO round 2. All right, guys, for the next fight, we have Umar Nurmagomedov versus Bekzat Almakhan. Sorry. Gotta go with Umar. I mean, this guy actually looks good, Bekzat. I mean, I watched a couple of his fights. It's hard to get great footage. Like one of his fights was like a Russian street beefs like setup with like the plywood. They were fighting on fucking rugs. It looked so weird. But anyway, he looks like he has a pretty good overall game. I've seen him offensively wrestle pretty well. The hands stay up. And the boxing's not bad. I mean, he throws combos together, and he clearly has knockout power. He's got quite a bit of finishes on his record. But Umar, that's just an uphill battle. UFC tested, and something that he does that just is like the new generation of MMA is not only can he grapple so well, but his kicks are just so dangerous that he creates a wall that if you pass it, you're getting punished either with grappling or you're going to get caught with like a heavy kick. So, again, just dangerous style. I think it's a style that's very hard to beat. And a lot of people think this guy's me a champion for a reason. So give me Umar by decision.
Yeah, I like this fight quite a bit. Both these guys are pretty darn good. Yeah, I feel like kicks and grappling will be Nurmagomedov's side here and will be the deciding factor. Yeah, like you said, his kicks, he does a good job to keep at range. And then once you're inside the kick range, then he'll be taking you down and controlling you for a majority of that round, if not submitting you. So, yeah, I feel like Nurmagomedov's ground game is just a little bit better, and he'll win this on the mat. I feel like a decision though. So,
yeah,
what do you think?
I wonder what goes on sometimes with Umar. I do think people duck him, obviously. Like, if I was in the UFC, fuck no, I'm not fighting Umar Nurmagomedov. I get paid $12,000 to get my ass beat. I would not do it. So, maybe this guy, it's just his way into the UFC. He doesn't look bad, so this could be a lot better fight than ones we've seen before with Umar. So, I mean, Brian Kelleher or whatever, much better fight. That Nate Maness one was horrible. I mean, Nate Maness deserves a lot of blame for that one, but anyway, give us Nurmagomedov by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Matt Schnell versus Steve Erceg. I think this is just a no-brainer. Steve Erceg here. Matt Schnell's chin is just not there at all. And we were on that fight we were on Nicolau. Everyone, for the most part, was. But we had him by knockout, and a lot of people had him by decision. They were betting him by decision. And I remember we just absolutely cashed out on Nicolau by KO, which was like a plus 300 or some number. And it was just easy money. And he couldn't eat, more than one big punch, and it was already done. And Sumaderji fight, he got rocked 8 times. And we've seen Steve Erceg in his 2 UFC fights rock Costa towards the end of round 1, I believe, and then drop David Dvorak as well. So I like him. He's got good snap on the end of his punch. And Matt Schnell, I don't think he's all there. So give me Erceg a round 2 knockout. What do you think?
Yeah, Erceg's really well-rounded as well. He's got good kicks, got good striking.
He looks like a Muppet every time I look at him.
Yeah, he does look weird. He's got a nice quick jab, and he's obviously got a good grappling game as well. His cardio is super good as well, so no problem going the full 15. But I don't think it's going to go there. I feel like KO or maybe a club and sub here. Erceg's only got 1 KO on his record, but I could see this being a second here. Schnell's been KO'd 4 times, been submitted twice. He's only lost 1 decision, so I like Erceg by finish.
In a lot of Erceg's regional fights, too, when you have that grappling advantage, it's similar to how Ilia Topuria, not to say that Steve Erceg has Ilia Topuria's power, but Topuria had like 8 submissions prior to the UFC or something. Then coming into the UFC, he's only had 1 and then all knockouts because you're submitting these low-level fighters that can't defend grappling. I do think Erceg has like really good snap at the end of his straight punches. And something that Schnell does that's so bad is he's so flat-footed for flyweight. And all these guys are so bouncy and fast that if you just sit there flat-footed and don't protect your chin, those punches will just come and they'll fuck you up, especially when you have no chin. So he's got that going on. Obviously, Erceg's chin, how high he keeps it, doesn't really move his head. He just moves his feet to try to get out of the way of the punches. It's concerning, but I don't think Schnell has that power to really, take over the fight. So,
yeah, I mean, Schnell's 34 and has taken so much damage now. Erceg seemed to have a good chin. He got hit a few times against Costa, but didn't really seem to affect him too much.
Right. He got rocked once as well. I think he got dropped there, but still like him. And there's a reason why he's already ranked. So, yeah, give me Erceg by KO round 2. All right, for the next fight, we have Alex Perez versus Muhammad Mokaev. Feels like a no-brainer, just stylistically. Again, I haven't been super high on Mokaev because his style is he hasn't really tested his hands on the feet very often, and he's doing a lot of weird actions that aren't really scoring him damage, but he's just an obvious great grappler. And Alex Perez, 2 fights in a row, submitted in the first round. Where also is like 1 minute and 30 seconds for both of those. So this guy really hasn't had a full fight since that Formiga one, which is just a long time ago. We'll take a Mokaev sub round 3. I think it could happen in round 1 easily, but just the way that he's been fighting, which is I'm just going to wrestle rounds 1 and 2, and then round 3 look for a finish. I don't know why he's fighting like that, but it's the way he is. I'll stick with it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, his last 3 fights have all been 3rd round submissions, so something to keep in mind there. Perez has been subbed 5 times. Yeah, not the best matchup for Perez here. And he's had like 12 canceled bouts in the past 2-3 years, so besides the Pantoja fight in 2022, then his previous fight was in 2020, so he's not active at all either, so don't love that. I feel like this is another stepping stone for Mokaev. Perez
was really a guy that never really made sense for the title shot. I mean, he did have that leg kick win over Formiga, or Formiga was out of the UFC, I believe, like after that one, so Perez, the leg kicks are good. I think his boxing is better, but the threat of the takedown will just make it hard for him to even get into this fight, in my opinion. Again, once Mokaev, he faces another equivalent grappler, I don't think he's going to lose. So,
I mean, even the Tim Elliott one in Mokaev's last one, I think 2 of the judges had him losing.
Yeah, he was losing. He was losing in the Fieldhof fight as well. Before he was going to lose round 3, I think, based on that damage to the knee before he got his own submission. So
right,
he's all over the board. And the Malcolm Gordon fight. So 3 weird ones in a row. Anyway, Mokaev,
and now he's got beef with MMA Guru on Twitter. So
I do not care. I guess I don't know. It does seem weird. Like, he is 23, and I do think he can get a lot better. The Russian-English mix just makes for, like, full-on fan retardation, I should say. Like, I don't know, people love that mix for some reason, and the UFC trying to blow him up still as well, so. Alright, Mokaev, sub, round 3. Alright, for the next fight, we have Eryk Anders versus Jamie Pickett. What are we doing? What are we doing? Jamie Pickett, I don't know how this guy's still in the UFC. Eryk Anders is just kind of like a tough guy, and he can win fights based on being tough and physically stronger than people at 185. We're going with Anders. It's kind of a no-brainer because Pickett just hasn't been there, hasn't been good. I'm going to go by decision. I think Pickett might just run a lot of this fight. We might get clinch time against the cage, just burn a bunch of time. And, yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Eryk Anders being a minus 330 favorite against anybody is pretty scary. So, yeah, I mean, of course it is Jamie Pickett, and he's probably one of the worst on the roster. But, I mean, minus 330, come on now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, Anders is just a tough guy. He's only been KO'd once, so most of his losses are coming by decision. I feel like this... We'll go to decision. What do you think? Yeah.
I mean, I could see a KO for Anders, but it's just kind of based on, I think, if they clinch or not. I don't have any interest in this fight. Jamie Pickett doesn't excite me at all. He's got like a great frame for this division, just doesn't know how to fight. That's just the truth. He actually does have decent takedown defense, so I don't know if we'll see this one hit the mat. I got nothing else to say. That's what I think most people's opinions on this fight will be. So, Anders.
Yeah, Anders will just be a little bit better striker here.
Yep. Anders by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we got Vitor Petrino versus Tyson Pedro. Give me Vitor. This is a scary fight, though, for, I think, some bettors if you're going to be playing the Petrino side. Pedro is just a kind of a round one submission guy, or, you know, he still has the ability to find a finish early in the fight. And Petrino's takedown defense does not look incredible. He can offensively grapple, but remember, Anton Turkalj took this guy's back like 3 or 4 times in the fight, and he reversed the position, but Jesus Christ, I mean, that's Anton Turkalj, the pleasure man, which then, of course, Tyson Pedro beat. But yeah, I do have a stare for like a quick submission for Tyson Pedro in this fight, and that might be a nice little sneaky bet to get in there. But overall, Pedro, if he doesn't get that early finish, Petrino probably can just maintain better cardio, better boxing, and I'd say he wins by a late knockout in round 2. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when you're betting, probably don't want to be betting money lines when he's relying on a first round finish. I mean, if you can't get him out of there in round 1, then he's probably losing. So probably just bet him round 1, Pedro, and then Petrino at 2-3. So that's what I would probably do here. Feel like that's what I had Pedro round 1 in the Turkalj fight, and then I beat Live Movement and had Turkalj straight when that was at plus money. So, anywho, Petrino, he's got 3 fights in the UFC, and they both have 2. They have 2 common opponents. You don't see that too often, where Bukauskas and Turkalj. I feel like Pedro against Bukauskas, I mean, he looked not good at all. I mean, he gassed out. It
was quick takedown. He went for the quick takedown, and as soon as that game failed for him, it was just dead in the water. So,
yeah, and then Bukauskas wasn't able to finish him for forever. So, yeah, I feel like Petrino's got tons of KO power. He's getting better on the grappling side. He's still only 26. He's very muscular for the division, so he's undefeated. I feel like if he's not getting KO'd or submitted in that first round, then he's gonna win in 2 or 3. So that's what I like here.
Pedro had some setup opponents too in the prior ones. I do feel like this Petrino too. The left hand in his boxing is great. He's also some flaws. He leaves his chin pretty high. He's somewhat hittable. Doesn't roll punches like at all. But somehow, he's young, so his chin's still holding up really well. So there's a chance he could get, cracked, like we were talking about. But yeah, Petrino on his side still. He could easily just survive the early grappling, make it to rounds 2 and 3, and smash. So
yeah, I mean his grappling's gotten better. It feels like so. Yeah, as long as he's not getting finished in that first round, he should be clear.
Yep, Petrino KO round 2. Okay, for the main event, guys, before we give our prediction, please drop a like, subscribe, as always. Check out the Patreon, Beat the Line Movement. Already got a couple bets out, so check that out. Yeah, Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Shamil Gaziev. I'm going with Rozenstruik. This is a weird matchup. I haven't really been a fan of Rozenstruik this entire time he's been in the UFC, to be honest. He's got a weird style, he doesn't have high volume. He obviously has knockout power, that as we've all seen. But obviously here, facing the higher level opponents, he's struggling. And for the most part, he's kind of like one of the, you could say, gatekeepers of the heavyweight division. And this could maybe be seen as a gatekeeper fight. So Gaziev's second fight in the UFC. Beating Martin Buday really wasn't too surprising. I bet on him by first round knockout, and it happened fucking like 30 seconds into round 2, and it drove me crazy. Classic betting shit. But Gaziev, that cardio just doesn't look great for me. And I think Jairzinho, if this fight goes to the ground, can survive, and I think it's just going to slow down Gaziev more and more. And it could be a second or third round knockout. But I'm going to go with a first round knockout for Jairzinho. Shamil's hands are low, and again, beating Buday, who has his hands, is like fat and not athletic. Like the dude was a former gamer versus a guy who's competed most of his life in Gaziev. Obviously, Gaziev, the more athletic guy, can run through him pretty fast. So, Jairzinho's chin, though, questionable. But yeah, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting matchup. Feels weird saying Gaziev, like the up-and-comer. I mean, he's 34 years old against Rozenstruik.
Heavyweights, I guess. They're just old.
Yeah, for real. But, I mean, Rozenstruik's been in the UFC since 2019, and Gaziev's just making his second UFC fight here and is a main event. So, yeah, like you said, his gas tank is not that good. He's got 5 first-round KOs, 3 second-round KOs, and 3 first-round subs, and only 1 decision, and that was a split decision. So when he's going longer, it's
which he was dead tired in as well.
Yeah, he's not a good sign when he's going longer. So yeah, I feel like he's got to win in 1 or 2, and the fight probably does end in 1 or 2 either way. So
I like the under.
Yeah, I mean, you like Rozenstruik KO. Maybe Gaziev is able to pull out a Jilton Almeida and take him down and submit him early. But, yeah, a tough matchup here. Tough fight to call, but I lean towards Rozenstruik just with the high-level experience here.
And I can already see the comments incoming because I think people automatically love these Russian dudes. They want to defend them, and I get it. I mean, again, I'm not big on Jairzinho, but also Jairzinho changed his style a little bit versus Chris Daukaus, given it's Chris Daukaus. But he said, he's been taking all these fights off, doing nothing, and then he's finally like, fuck it, I'm going to just go across and knock this dude out. Maybe he'll take that mentality into a fight like this. It's a weird main event, to be honest. I don't think anyone understands it. Like, I think there'd be a lot better options on this card for a main event. For example, like Eryk Anders and Jamie Pickett. I knew that did laugh. But Umar, like you could put Umar in the main event just at least to boost him. I know. I guess that new guy probably doesn't want a main event, but it's questionable. And these guys typically, why do we want this fight to be 5 rounds? It doesn't need to be. It won't be going past probably the second, or the third round. So, I think Jairzinho can also swing back. You watch that Buday fight. Buday doesn't even fucking throw a punch. If Jairzinho gets one heavy punch off, it could be lights out for Gaziev. So, a man that hasn't really met resistance might meet resistance, and he might fall.
Yeah, I mean, Rozenstruik's only been submitted once, and that was in his last one against Almeida. I mean, could happen again, but if he's able to survive, Gaziev slowing down, and then Rozenstruik can pull through in that second round. So.
Also in the Curtis Blades fight, like, he was just welcome to laying on his back until the next round started. Not a great tactic, but in the case of the guy that you're going to try to gas out, it could be. And I think versus Jailton's just so good at punching people until they give up their back, and then he finds his submission. So, wasn't super surprising, but I think the upset's coming. And I think it's a little bit crazy that, I don't know, Shamil is the favorite considering he was an underdog versus Martin Buday. I don't know. Interesting fight. I really like the under, nevertheless, for everybody. So, curious what it'll come out to. I think it'll probably be like minus 180 if I had to guess. But if it comes in at a nice number, I will bet it. So.
Yeah, curious to see how the money line movement goes throughout the week. I mean, I feel like most people will be betting on Gaziev, just with his last performance and odder name, I guess.
Right. Russian, has a fucking beard, no mustache. That's just like, that's money is just going into that dude when that's happening. Yeah, what if Jairzinho shaved his mustache, just did beard? People would start betting him, dude. I mean, Christ.
Yeah.
Black Russian fighter. I smash everybody. All right. Rozenstruik KO round 1. Okay, here's the betting results from UFC Mexico. Kind of upsetting. Went negative, but in my opinion, should have went positive here. Starting it off, the main fight that I think caused it, the Mendoza fight. I thought he got robbed. I thought it was pretty bad. Round 1, he had majority control, majority top position, had an armbar attempt, also tried to switch to a leg lock, and Aguilar had a couple of shots at ground and pound and maybe 30 seconds of time on top. So it's hard to justify, at least in my opinion, for Aguilar to win that round based on aggression, effective grappling, damage. I know there's not much damage from Mendoza either, but round 1 is tough, and obviously round 3 was for Mendoza. I felt like round 2 is for Aguilar, but that was a tough loss. But again, that's a 2-unit swing. That's like, 0.81. That's, 1.9 unit difference right there for a positive result. Man, that sucked. Next, Torres got it done. A little wild, but fun. His grappling looked good. Luis Rodriguez still got hit by some scary overhands, but Bonder just slowed down so much. The elevation was on full display for this fight card. People were exhausted. Then Yair, that was bad. Maybe he started too fast. That was one part of it, but your takedown defense is just trash. Like, Brian Ortega had a simple leg sweep or just pull him down to the ground, and Yair just had nothing on the ground. So I guess it's a trend, Max Holloway, obviously Volk out wrestling him, Ortega, and I feel like if Ortega fights Ilia Topuria, he's gonna get fucking killed. His defense is still not there, and added Faraziam live bet after round 1. Felt like Claudio Puelles kind of blew some of his load trying to get that submission in round 1. I do feel like it was still super nerve-wracking just because Ziam had horrible takedown defense, but he was able to reverse position, go for damage, which helped him win that fight. Next, Felipe Dos Santos. I had him by finish, but again, the elevation was huge on this one. He got taken down by the same takedown, I think, like 8 times. And obviously, he got up most of the times, but he was on Aldemirano's back. He couldn't finish that submission. That was sad. And he was the one doing the damage on the feet. I did feel like he won the fight. just based on his output to do damage. Altamirano had like 6 head strikes, so, and he just had effective grappling. So, next, Edgar Chairez, Daniel Lacerda. I mean, easy money all day. Well, we knew Lacerda's just not good, so it was an easy bet. It was an easy win, and that's how we do it. So, again, man, if Mendoza got that decision, we got a nice positive result, but shit happens and you get these bad ones. So, move on to the next one. Again, bets are out for UFC Vegas 87, and as always, drop a like, subscribe, and thank you guys for watching. Peace.
I know. It doesn't matter from the trenches. I'm built like this. The old doubted me said I couldn't do it. The old said I couldn't do it. Look at me now.